that stream health looks. Podcasting Network.
This is Final Score, your number one podcast for sports news. Here are your hosts, Chris and Craig.
Hey guys, this is Chris, and we are back here for another exciting episode of Final Score, episode 53, and this one is special. We have so much going on in this episode, so much more than we've had recently just because of all this insanity known as coronavirus, but we promise that it's going to be exciting. It's going to be awesome in so many different ways. But to make sure that you follow all things Final Score, you have to follow us on social media on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram by searching at PCN Final Score. Give us a like, give us a follow, give us a rating, send invites to your friends, share it with everybody you know, because at the end of the day, Final Score is where it's at when it comes to sports podcasting. So definitely make sure to check us out and check out all of our great content on the myriad of platforms that we are on, whether it be Google Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, TuneIn, Podbean, iHeartRadio, YouTube, YouTube or Apple Podcasts. Go on there and search keyword Final Score, one word, and make sure to give us a like and a follow there. That way you can keep up to date on all the latest content that Final Score puts out. And you can also find us on PodChaser. Just go to podchaser.com and search keyword Final Score, also one word, and give us a follow, a rating, and more importantly, a review. And let us know how we're doing, because we always try to bring the very best show that we can week in and week out. And you can also find us on Bullhorn. Just go ahead and download Bullhorn on your Apple or Android device and search keyword Final Score and give us a follow and a listen and check out all the great stuff we have. And it's such a mouthful to say all that. I got to find a way to condense that. But finally, so I could take a breath, I'm going to pass it off to our co-host who has joined us, none other than Craig. How you doing, Craig?
I'm doing great, man. Easter Sunday. Happy Easter, everybody out there watching. Results of the first round of Sports Movie Madness tonight. We got a few upsets, and none of us know the results. Chris is the only one that knows the results because he's being selfish. So he's the only one that's going to know. We're all going to find out, same as you. And we've heard there's going to be upsets. So this is going to be fun. I'm excited to get to it.
I'm not going to lie. It hurts me deeply, too, when we get to it. But, we'll deal with it when we get there because, we're going to burn it all down. But at the end of the day, though, we do have some great guests. We have some great guests that you see on your screen. First, we're going to start with none other than George DeMoya, who joined us last week from the Couch Dads podcast. He's joining us for round 2 of Sports Movie Madness. How you doing, George?
Doing great. Once again, happy Easter to all, and really excited to get into this Sports Movie Madness round 2. I'm excited to see what's up. I'm excited to see who the upsets are. And I'm excited to continue to bring in the Couch Dads theme and bring you some movie tips on who's winning and who's moving forward. I went back and did a deeper dive and got even some more Hollywood nuggets to share with y'all. So,
yes.
Very nice. Very nice. But before we can even get to Sports Movie Madness, we're going to touch on something that we actually revealed last week, something new that we're going to do here at Final Score. And it's so awesome and new that we had to bring someone in just to take care of it for us. And at this time, I'd like to introduce someone who played for the UCF rugby team, for the Jacksonville Axemen, is a multi-time champion. He also played for the Leeds Rhinos in 2015 and 2016, and he started two youth teams in Florida. He is none other than Kevin Wathen.
Quite the intro. I appreciate it.
Do what I can, man.
Correction, I lost to the Leeds Rhinos twice. It's an unfortunate tally there on a long and painful rugby career, but fun nonetheless, though. And hopefully we can talk all things rugby as the weeks go on, and bring on some good guests that I met along the way playing this wonderful sport. Teach you guys a little bit about the sport, teach the audience, and hopefully we can track some new following here, some new traction for rugby in the States.
Yeah, definitely. And I can't wait. It's going to be really exciting. And if people don't know about rugby, you are living under a rock. Talk about the most manly of manly sports. Literally, like, hearing these guys hit each other is like watching a car wreck in action. It's absolutely devastating and amazing at the same time. But before we get into anything, there's something we got to mention. Craig, is there something we got to talk about?
Yeah, we've actually had a partner that's going to be helping us with some of our digital marketing. I'm talking about Radius Digital Marketing, the guys there, Alec and Sean. A shout out to them. They've been extremely helpful. They're building up our brand and helping us expand our audience. Their company, it's a startup company. They've specialized in ad management, lead generation, brand awareness, and social media marketing. So if you are interested in taking your business to the next level, contact Alec at Alec Nuzis at Radius DM. It's ALEKANUZIS at radiusdm.com for more information.
Awesome stuff. Awesome stuff. We're so very happy to partner with Radius Digital Marketing. It's going to be a huge partnership, I think, between the two of us. And I know they like to have fun. We like to have fun, too. So I'm sure it's going to be a beautiful relationship. But let's kick things off from the extreme top. And we're going to start with none other than the Rugby Report. Kevin, what do you got for us, bud?
Got a bunch for us. I'm going to kind of do an intro this week and kind of bring you guys some basics for rugby that you need to know if you're going to be a fan of the sport. So back in England, where the sport first originated, we had kind of a split that happened in the in the code of rugby. You have rugby league and rugby union. Rugby league kind of drifted off on their own up there into northern England in 1895 and created their own league. For myself, when I first started playing, all I knew was rugby union there at UCF, and enjoyed my time there playing with the UCF boys. They actually went on to win 2 national titles there at UCF after I graduated. So kudos to them. We had a good group of boys that came in from South Florida after I graduated and took the thing all the way to the national title and won 2 national titles, almost a third. They ended up getting runner-up in the 3rd year. So I'm very proud of saying I'm a UCF alumni. Rugby club wasn't as good when I was playing there. We had a lot of hiccups, but eventually the boys put it all together, so it was pretty cool. But yeah, when I graduated, I just felt as a teacher, how are we going to motivate these boys? How are these boys? They play football in the fall, but we're lacking something in the spring. And down here in Florida, everyone comes down here for the football talent. Everyone comes down here for the speed. Colleges come down here and recruit exclusively in Florida to come get their talent. Craig, you know that's true. The Michigan coaches always come down here to Florida to try to recruit talent to come up there and play. All the Big Ten schools do it. Rugby is not very different. You get a lot of talented players coming out here in Florida. When I played with the Daytona program, Daytona Coconuts there, it's a men's side. I got to play with who is now the 2-time USA player in the world in Perry Baker. Phenomenal athlete, phenomenal person, phenomenal friend. And you're talking a dude that ran a 10.58 in the 100-meter dash. So it was very easy playing against or playing with him and just throw him the ball and watch what happened. Very talented. So it was kind of cool. But yeah, after I graduated UCF, I went on to found the Deltona Rugby Club, and that was one of the first youth clubs that I brought on board. Started from the ground up, didn't really have any funds, had to crowdfund the best I could. But got these boys that were football players in the fall to play rugby in the spring. And a lot of the coaches out there, I'm a football coach myself, there's a lot of potential in keeping your kids in a contact sport year round, not just shuffling them off to a lacrosse program or a track and field program or a baseball program where they're not going to get much out of it. Rugby's the closest thing we have to American football. And these kids that enrolled in the program, they grew leaps and bounds. They returned back either in the fall to play football, and it was just a whole new mentality of, I need to attack the ball. They were more aggressive. They were making complete tackles. And it teaches you a lot, not only on the field, but it teaches you how to be a complete all-around person off the field. One kid I like to spotlight, I got on the phone with him this week, check in, see how him and his family were holding up during this whole quarantine thing. One of my ex-players from Deltona, his name's Sterling Wynn. And I couldn't be any more proud of this kid, among others. I'm proud of them all, but he's one that kind of stuck with me and stuck with rugby all the way through. And from that high school program, little funds, we were playing in a cow pasture in Deltona. Started up the program out of Pine Ridge High School, and we played out there in the outskirts, in the boonies, and pretty much all the field said they didn't know about rugby. They're like, you're not going to play rugby here. It's too dangerous of a sport. They didn't know enough about it. So we found this pasture, set up some posts, and invited people out there, and we ended up doing pretty well that season. We went almost all the way to the state finals our first year out of the gates for a group of boys that had started playing the sport in January. So that was huge. But Sterling stuck with it. He played all around the state of Florida. He had the chance to sign a semi-professional contract out in Narooma. He played for the Red Devils, which is like a regional league out there for the boys. And then you just kind of fill your ranks similar to minor league baseball, and you work your way up those ranks to hopefully get to the NRL, which is the equivalent of the NFL here in the States. We're not talking the big multi-million-dollar contracts that these guys get in the NFL, but it is a growing sport. It's hopefully something they can get to. They're trying to do their best on breaking the USA ranks, but we're a ways off from that yet. But yeah, after Sterling got back from Naruma, yeah, he got a chance briefly to play for the Toronto Wolfpack. And if you haven't heard about the Toronto Wolfpack, they are a transatlantic team that just started up not too long ago and are having great success on working their way up through the ranks in Super League out there in England. And now we have the emergence of a New York team as well. So hopefully that can get off the ground and running. So you're going to have two potentially big-time teams with big-time money backing them that are playing over there in England. But hopefully that's something we can see in the States in the future. But yeah, Sterling, we played against one another. We played with one another in rugby as we came through. Like I said before, he played with Toronto for a little bit, got a crack at that. They actually shipped about 20 boys out to England. And so he just got back from Australia. They're shipping him out to England. He's here in a high-profile team. He worked his way up through there, got the best experience he could get with those boys. And then he actually played against me this past August. And I hate to bring this one up. This one still stings. And all my Brooklyn boys listening in, yes, it is still ingrained on my mind. Last August, the Jacksonville Axemen played in the national title game against the Brooklyn Kings. The year prior, though, we beat them 2018 in the national title game. So we're hoping for back-to-back titles. Unfortunately, we fell 12-6 to the Brooklyn Kings. And who was on that team? A kid I used to coach in, Sterling Wynn. So he made sure he definitely made me feel that one after the game. Said, Coach, you remember all those times you beat me on the rugby field? I finally got you. So yeah, kudos to him. But yeah, revenge is in store. So, and all my boys are feeling the same down here in Jacksonville. Revenge is in store because I'm looking forward to another, a third championship ring.
Can't go wrong with that.
Not quite Jordan yet, but we're getting there. But yeah, so he's had plenty of caps with the USARL team. These guys in the USARL, we play for the love of the sport. We don't get any money for it. Usually we have to fund a lot of our own travel. We have to go out and fundraise. We have to go out and find supporters. But we keep playing. It's an 80-minute sport, brutality. You take the best of football and apply it to rugby. You got your speed, your agility, your tenacity of a running back, and you're 20 meters apart from a linebacker, middle linebacker, who's wanting to take your head off. And you're seeing those collisions for 80 minutes. It's a wonderful sport, and I think a lot of American football fans, if they tuned in even for 5-10 minutes, they'd be hooked on it. A video that's actually making its rounds on social media that everyone should take a look at. Look at out there in the NRL, like I was talking about before. They played a game with no fans. Hopefully that's something we don't see in the near future. But these collisions that I was talking about, pretty much a running back versus linebacker, you're hearing in the stands, no fans, and it sounds like car crashes every time these guys meet. So the demand on our bodies and the wear and tear and the injuries that pile up, I've had my fair share, but it's definitely a fun sport to watch. There's no huddles, there's no downtime. It's definitely something to tune into. Aside from Sterling, I had the opportunity to speak with a friend this week as well. His name's Romeo Monteith. He's actually the head coach and pretty much originator, founder of rugby league in Jamaica. And I had the opportunity a few years back to play for a developmental side in the USA team, the Pioneers that went out to Jamaica, to Kingston. They set us up in the Four Seasons. We flew out there and we played 2 games against the Jamaican national team and one of his competition teams out there that play in the local comp. We won one of those games, went away, losers in the other one, but real tight-knit match. But I had the opportunity to speak with him. We've been building a relationship because he's trying to do similar to what I'm doing in the States. He's trying to build the game up, and he knows me and him are on the same wavelength. It starts with the younger guys. We got to get the high schoolers learning rugby, playing rugby, feeding into our collegiate program, and then feeding into our men's league and hopefully our national team. So it's really much a cohesive effort. So me and him have been working back and forth, talking about how to grow the game and how to get more ears to the ground on the sport. But I had the opportunity to sit down and talk with him, ask him a few questions about the upcoming Rugby League World Cup, which is about to take place next year. 2021, it's going to kick off in October in England. So Jamaica, in the American League competition, they actually qualified by defeating the USA Hawks this past year in the 2019 qualifying. Very tough pill to swallow for the Americans, for the Hawks. A lot of domestic players that been training their tails off to get the opportunity to play were narrowly defeated by the Jamaicans, and the Jamaicans move on and qualify. But we wish them the best. I hope they're the underdog story, the Cinderella story, and can run the table over there, at least have some success like the Americans did a few years back in our previous Rugby League World Cup. So,
Definitely
yeah.
awesome. Definitely awesome. And I heard you actually have an audio clip, something that you did fairly recently that you're going to surprise us with. What is that?
Yeah, it's our sit-down meeting with Romeo, and I asked him a few questions about Jamaica and how they're preparing. A lot of guys I see on social media that I'm friends with in the rugby world is, how do we work out during this quarantine times? How are we getting our workouts in, much less preparing for a Rugby League World Cup? It's difficult because if you don't go into a game mentally and physically compared in a sport like rugby, you will be injured. It's not a question if, it's a question when you're going to be injured. It's physically demanding. They're demanding as much cardio as you do in soccer, but demanding you knock somebody's teeth in, similar to American football. So you got to have all those attributes. So I basically sat down and talked with him briefly and said, how are you guys preparing? Is everything going good? Are you seeing the same things that are happening here in the States with quarantine? How are you preparing these guys that don't have weight equipment in their homes? Are you preparing it for them? And we're in a sport that's, I mean, Jamaican side, Canadian side, even the American side, we're funding a lot of this stuff on our own with community support. So it's trying to give these boys the support they can, so they represent the Americas very well in the upcoming World Cup. So it was a good conversation I had with them. So if you could play that for everyone so they can hear it.
Oh yeah, we're gonna throw this up now. So definitely enjoy. It's a great interview that you had just a few days ago. So we're gonna play it right here and enjoy.
Proud to bring on here on Final Score podcast a friend of mine, close friend of mine. I have seen him across the field, across the pitch from me in multiple occasions, some on the winning side, some on the losing side. Welcome to the broadcast, Romeo Monteith. Romeo is the head coach for the Jamaican national team that just qualified for the 2021 World Cup in England. And we have him here on the show tonight. So first question out the gates, Romeo. How is the Jamaican national team preparing while in isolation and stay-home orders from this whole COVID-19 crisis?
Well, the Jamaica national team, the players obviously self-isolated like everyone else in Jamaica on the island. They have to stay indoors most of the times. However, uh, some are able to do their exercises at some of the fields. Some of the fields, there's no one there really at a certain time. So one or two boys have been out, doing some ball work, doing some running, some passing on their own. Um, the majority, they're doing their personal fitness at home. Boys are doing lots of body weight stuff. Those who don't have weights at home, so they're keeping fit physically. Um, in the UK as well, the players there, they're keeping fit. All the players in the UK, of course, are semi-professionals or professionals, so that's a part of their regime with the clubs they're contracted to. So on a whole, everyone is keeping fit. Um, so it's just the mental aspect of things where you're isolated. and they're not able to work in groups, which is what they're used to. So that's a bit difficult for them. But everyone is trying their best to survive. Um, we do a lot of video reviews in our WhatsApp group, especially with the local boys, just to keep the mind going and just to keep um, in tune with the game.
Are you hoping that the upcoming match against USA South All-Stars will get rescheduled?
Definitely hoping that the match will be rescheduled. I think it's a fixture that both nations are looking forward to, and we definitely want to see it still happen. And it's about watching to see what happens government-wise in terms of travel rules and restrictions and public gathering rules as well in Florida. To see whether or not we can reschedule that match for later on in the year. Definitely be working with Billy, who is the USA manager, the Hawks manager, to see how best we can get that match rescheduled. Um, it may be possible for this year. We were committed to coming this year. Obviously, a lot of things will be changing with players' finances and stuff like that, and the ability to put funding into something like this. Um, but I believe that it is still possible. Let's say, if travel restrictions and public gathering ordinances were lifted, let's say by June, I definitely think it's a possibility where we could discuss maybe playing that game in September or maybe even October if possible. But it's definitely something that we still will want to see happen. And, I definitely would want to see the concept being expanded into the future. I mean, I know that we definitely would want to face the North All Stars as well, and of course, I think it would be great to have the teams coming to Jamaica as well, um, on a rotational basis. I mean, I think the the more elite rugby league that is played in the region, the better it is. The better it is for the product and the marketing over time. So. Um, I think we have things right in terms of the Americas Championship now being every 2 years, and it's a fixed date. And we have the nines, the Americas nines in between. So I think if we get regular games against the regional teams as well, I think that's another big step.
Are there any other countries other than the United States of America that you'd like to play before the 2021 World Cup in England?
I mean, I wouldn't say that there's any one specific country, but certainly we would love to have a number of matches. Um, so we know that we have the America's Championship was earmarked for November. We know that we should face Chile in the semifinals. Um, but certainly there are teams that we do enjoy playing against. I mean, I definitely um, well, we'd play either Canada or the USA, whether in the finals or the third place match as well, one of the two. Um, I definitely would want to play Canada before the World Cup. We played Canada in 2017, 2018, so we didn't play them in 2019. Let's say we don't draw them in 2020, that would be 2 years not playing them. So I definitely would want to play them, before the World Cup, just to keep the regional rivalry going on. I think any of the home nation teams in the UK would be a good match as well, whether it's Wales, Ireland, or Scotland would be a good match, or even France, or France would be a good match. Um, because in our World Cup group we'll have Lebanon. Sorry, we'll have Lebanon and Ireland. So it'd be good to get a game against a team that plays similarly to Ireland. So that would be good. It'd be great to play a Pacific Island nation as well. As you know, we have New Zealand in our World Cup group also. But everything just comes down to what the world will look like and what's possible over the next couple of months.
Your Jamaican team has seen some success lately these past couple years against the Americans. Do you think that trend will continue against the USARL South Side?
Well, yeah, Jamaican teams, we have had success, yes, last couple of years against the American teams. Um, it's a funny one. So when we think about the USA, there are two things you have to think about. I mean, obviously, when both teams are at full strength, meaning the heritage players come into play, the professionals, um, you know, that's always a good match. This only happens at the World Cup qualifiers. So we saw it in 2011, 2015, 2018. Um, you know, normally having the teams, the national teams, being mostly domestic American players or domestic Jamaican players, um, y- it's something that I look forward to, because that is what really tells me where the nations are. Um, we've always, I think our domestic boys have always matched up well against both Canadian and American domestic boys. Um, in 2016 and 27 and in 2016 and 2017 when we traveled to the USA with our domestic boys being the 100% makeup of the team, we didn't do too well against the American team. We got beat. I think in 2016, I think the Americans put about maybe 50 points or 48 points on us. And then in 2017, they put 48 points on us. Um, in both those games, though, the main difference was Juna Vaivai, I would think, who is a heritage player and who is a professional as well. He scored, a lot of the points. Um, in Kingston last year, neither Jamaica nor the US team had any semi-pro or professional players. It was just the domestic players, and it was a really close contest. And we won by, I think it was 4 points or 2 points. That's the type of game that I enjoy. And yeah, with the South All-Star game being planned, both teams would have only domestic players. So for me, yeah, that's the type of match that I find interesting to see, really, where the nations are against each other in terms of their domestic talent. Um, I have supreme confidence, in the best 20 players in Jamaica that we can match the best 20 domestic players in the States or in Canada at any point. I've always felt that way. Um, it's when you travel, it's always difficult because our players pay to play. So like in 2016 and 2017 when we traveled to the States, you know, it, just like when the US travels, sometimes it's the players paying for themselves. So you don't always travel with your strongest team. So that has always been a challenge. Um, you know, um, I think the squad that we are looking to put together for the South game, I think that it's a strong squad. We definitely went after the first choice players and really tried to push them to make the commitment to travel. And I think it's a strong team. Um, I know the USA South is also a strong team. They have some really good athletes. So I think it will be a very competitive game. You know, it's difficult to say, yeah, we believe that we'll definitely win the game. I think that would be jumping the gun. But I think that the team would be competitive against them with the chance of winning the game. But I think both teams would be equally matched, and it would be interesting. It would really be an interesting matchup, and it's one that we definitely want to see.
Do you think in the future that the Jamaicans will start bringing in American born players like they do in Australia to play in the Jamaican competition?
It's not a priority for us. It's not a priority for us. Obviously, whenever you speak about players crossing borders to play in a domestic competition, there are a lot of things that have to be in place financial wise to make it feasible, because a player can't just leave one country and go to another country for 2 3 months without having the necessary finances to do so. That's one of the biggest challenges. um, Also, I mean, I think that the NCC, which is the name of our competition, the National Club Championship, I think it's at a similar level, really, to both the USA North and South conferences. um, or that some of the teams I believe are just as strong and would could possibly compete and probably even beat all the teams. I mean, like the Haine Park Red Sharks, for example, I think is a team that could beat any team in the USA competition. Um, I think the GC Angels at full strength as well. Could be able to challenge Brooklyn Kings or Jacksonville Axemen, who are the regional champions from last year. I definitely believe so. But at the same time, obviously, you know, players coming to Jamaica to play in a Jamaican domestic competition would be, it'd be very difficult financially. So that's not a priority. It's not something I've even really thought about. Um, so, maybe at some point in the future when the competition is more of or if we get a semi-professional competition set up, then maybe you'll find some players based in the USA who may fancy coming down, just for the experience.
Do you see the potential of a Jamaican team playing in the USARL in the future as part of the South competition?
That's a tough one. Again, so the USARL is a amateur competition just like ours. So the benefit of a benefit of our team playing in that competition, I'm not sure that there'll be much benefit of for one of our domestic teams to play in the USA domestic competition, to be quite frank, because I believe that the levels are similar. I don't think, Um, I think what would be interesting, obviously, is a North American, um, you know, semi-pro setup. That's what I think would be interesting, and I think, you know, I think that possibly, the regional teams could um, create such an environment. I mean, if you imagine USRL South, North, Canada East, Canada West, and then the Reds and the Blues in Jamaica, playing in a competition throughout the year, that to me is perhaps feasible, um, you know, in the medium to long term, um, or or just the establishment of a new semi-professional competition. Um, So, the dynamics in our hemisphere, there are so many dynamics. We do have professional teams now. We have the Toronto Wolfpack in the Super League. We have the Ottawa team coming on board as well. We know New York is trying to come on board, but I guess these are enterprises, aimed at playing in Europe in the short term at least. Um, so it's going to be interesting to see what the landscape becomes in the future. But I do think that there is potential for semi pro rugby league, um, between maybe the regional teams, and who knows, it's maybe something that administrators can look at some point.
What has the national team done since qualifying for the 2021 World Cup?
Well, since qualification, we have played two games. So we played the USA in 2019 in Kingston, and we fielded a strictly domestic based team for that. We got the win there. That was important to us. And we also played the England Knights. So the England Knights is the second string, team to the full English national team. So they were all professional players playing the Super League. I think that was a good experience for us. Played that in front of 7,000 people in Leeds. Um, we played two of our domestics in that game, because our policy is that domestic players going forward, domestic players must be in all national teams as well. So that was a good experience, just stepping up to that level for the first time, and seeing the pace of the game, seeing what it is like to really mix it up with the big boys. That was good for us. Um, so that's what we have done so far. 2020 was supposed to be a big year for us before Corona hit. We had a lot of plans. So we had both the America's Championship Plus, we had some games we were organizing in Europe. We were looking at about 2 games in Europe. So it's interesting. Obviously, we won't be able to do all that we had planned, but I am hoping that we'll be able to salvage a lot of the preparation that we wanted to do in terms of playing strong teams, both in Europe and obviously in the Americas, to keep the boys sharp, because obviously it's going to be very tough in the World Cup. But we are trying to fine tune our processes and just trying to make things work for the players. It's boys based in Jamaica, boys based in Europe. So we're just trying to keep the boys together and to give them the best possible competition.
Definitely an awesome interview. Great piece that you brought with us brought to us today, Kevin. Man, really great stuff.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Hopefully we can have a few more special guests on the show. What I like to do is kind of wrap up this segment and talk about something that we're going to be doing next week with the Rugby Report. I'm going to spotlight a team each week. So first thing I'm going to bring you everyone through in the audience and you guys alike is the USARL. It's composed of 11 teams in total. We're going to start with my team because I'm biased and we're the most successful team in the league. So next week you're going to hear all about the Jacksonville Axemen. When we were founded, we were getting ready to kick off our 15th season in rugby league in America. Unfortunately, with this COVID, it's kind of pushed things back. We haven't canceled yet. We just postponed, but we're ready to kick off the season. The boys are chomping at the bit as well to play these Jamaicans after that game is rescheduled too. So be on the lookout next week. We're going to highlight everything there is about the Jacksonville Axemen, the most successful team in the USARL.
Definitely sounds awesome. So definitely make sure to check out episode 54 next week so you can check out everything Jacksonville Axemen. Definitely going to be real amazing. And I'm sure you got a lot of other things you're probably going to bring to us next week as well, I should say. But man, I tell you what, it's great to have the Rugby Report, have rugby represented now on Final Score. Man, good stuff. So before we go ahead and move forward, though, you got any good shout-outs you want to give there, Kevin?
Give a shout out to the Jacksonville boys, Jacks RFC, my state champion program up here in Jacksonville, the Jacksonville U19 team that is state champions. We are looking to defend, so hopefully when things kick back off, they can win another state title. Shout out to the guy who leads that crew, a good friend of mine, Aaron Church, who's done a phenomenal job with these boys and getting them geared up, ready to play. So, yeah, those are the shout-outs, and I got something special for you guys for next week's episode. Some guys that we're going to sit down and talk to and hopefully bring on the show. So I'm really looking forward to it.
Awesome stuff. Thank you so much, Kevin. We're going to keep you on, though, because we've got a lot of sports movie madness to go through, and since I'm extremely biased because I know the results already, you get to fill my place in actually dissecting everything. But I tell you what, it's been absolutely insane with sports movie madness and how everything turned out. I'm not going to lie. I think I was sweating bullets going through all of the surveys and really hoping certain movies did not lose. But, things happen the way they happen. It's why we have, this democratic process, so to speak. So that being said, though, we're going to dive right in. And this is our bracket as of right now. As you've seen all of our round one matchups, it was a bunch of insanity, a lot of great votes, went all the way to the end. And we thank everyone so much for going on to podcastcity.net and casting your vote. Was huge and monumentous. Got a lot more than we thought we were going to. So, hopefully we can come back this week and have even more. So, more work for me. Anyways, we're going to go into Region 1 right now, and we're going to take a look down the list and see where we had a lot of these turn out. It was absolutely insane. So, with our very first one on the list, we had number 1, Rudy, going against number 16, the Little Giants. You guys want to speculate on who won this one?
Well, I mean, come on. Go ahead,
Based on
bud.
your reaction from earlier tonight, down goes Rudy.
Don't know what you're talking about.
All right. Yeah, but let me ask you though, was that your pick?
My pick officially
Was that your pick?
was Rudy. I
Right.
mean,
Let's be honest.
bias or
All of
not.
our picks were probably Rudy.
Well, you ready for
Oh,
this?
I'm going for Rudy on this one.
Oh yeah. Well, by a actually sizable margin, the Little Giants took down our number 1 seed in Rudy. It was double-digit votes difference, and I was absolutely astonished. Cannot believe that we've had our first huge upset of the entire bracket with the very first matchup.
Right out the gate, man.
Shout out to UMBC. Shout out to UMBC, the number 16 seed that took down number 1 Virginia. That kind of stuff happens in this tournament.
That's exactly what happens. And you know what? I'm going to have to say, I'm going to give credit to IMDb TV because that digital streaming platform has been pushing the Little Giants like crazy. I don't know if you're into the digital streaming. I mean, that's what I'm all about. But they were pushing Little Giants all over the place. And if you looked on, which one you would rather watch, Little Giants was before Rudy every single time. And what happens? You got your kids at home. Yeah. You're going to put Rudy on, or are you going to put on Little Giants?
If those are true fans, they're going to watch Rudy. All right? Just saying. Oh, I guess that's just me. That was my childhood. I don't know.
What is up with Notre Dame always fumbling in the spotlight?
Oh, here we go.
From the top rope.
I was waiting for it. I hate both of you. I'm just saying.
It's like they couldn't see Icebox. Manti Te'o couldn't see his date, and they couldn't see Icebox, man. That's what happened.
And we had to throw Manti Te'o out there. Why don't we go ahead and just throw out Jimmy Clausen, too? Why not?
Might as well. We're on
it. You guys killed me. All right, but in our next matchup, we had Green Street Hooligans as our number 8 seed, taking on our number 9 seed, the Replacements. This one I thought was going to be a lot closer than it was, but the Replacements ended up taking 66% of the vote to be able to take down Green Street Hooligans and move on in the bracket.
Now, that one's probably just because of Keanu Reeves in that movie. Like, I don't think people give Green Street Hooligans enough respect.
Oh, no, definitely not.
But I think that's the whole reason why Replacements wins that round. But it is what it is.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the resurgence of Keanu Reeves, though. Ever since the John Wick movies have come out, people have delved into more of his old stuff.
That is true.
So this is very true. So that's something that we didn't see coming. Maybe we did, maybe we didn't. But we have a very, very interesting second round matchup here.
Oh yeah.
Just like Donald Trump, we are refusing to acknowledge what was going on.
Okay.
Oh my goodness. But with this matchup, we now have Little Giants taking on the Replacements. What do we think that the fans are going to try and vote on this one? Because now you have 2 timeless classics here. One more for kids, one more for the teenagers and adults. Who ends up taking this one?
Well,
George, we'll start with you.
You know what? In this, I gotta go with this one. I'm going with my man Keanu. He's too hot right now. He's just too hot right now. Okay, you got Bill and Ted's Bogus Adventures, the reboot or remake. It's coming out. That is coming out, and everyone is really stoked about it. You got John Wick, and you know what? Even though Rick Moranis is rumored to also make a comeback in this, we got 2 comeback stories going on here, boys. It's a beautiful thing. It's sports, movies, comebacks, underdogs. They all tie into each other. I'm going to go with the Replacements, though, man. I'm going to go with the Replacements. And here's one of those nuggets for you. Middle linebacker for the Replacements in the movie, Jon Favreau. What did Jon Favreau do? He directed Iron Man and the Mandalorian series.
That's crazy. Mike dropping that. Craig, what's your thoughts?
I think Replacements takes this pretty easy. I think just echoing what George said, Keanu Reeves, his movies are really hot, and I think that's what carried them out of the first round. I think it'll carry them into the Sweet 16.
Yeah, definitely can. Kevin, any thoughts?
I'm gonna go against the grain on this one. I'm gonna go with the Little Giants. Like you were saying earlier, I mean, it took down Rudy. I think it's going to keep its momentum going forward. And here's the reason behind that. You got a lot of parents out there right now that are stressed out having to teach their kids from home, put in a quick hour to 2 hour Little Giants movie. They get their break and continue the teaching, the online learning. So I think Little Giants is going to move past.
That's some great insight right there. I like that.
Just as a parent of 4, I got to go with it.
Yeah, it can't always be Moana and Frozen and Toy Story, man. It's like
I'm so done with Frozen.
It's so done with Frozen, both of them. But what are we gonna do? Like we need a few others, so people are going into the deep dive. Maybe Little Giants is one of them.
Definitely could be, and we'll definitely see as we move on. In our next matchup, though, we had number 5 Invictus taking on 12 seed Draft Day, and we debated greatly about these two movies, but I think it might not be all too surprising who ended up coming out on top. What do you guys think? Who do you think comes out on top?
I voted Draft Day. I'm taking Draft Day.
I was with you on that one, dude. I went with the upset on this, even though I'm a big fan of Invictus. And sorry, Kev, man, I don't want to bust your bubble, brother. I'm a huge fan of that sport. I know we bring you on and we're like trashing the one shot you got here, but I voted Draft Day, buddy. I'm sorry.
All right, well, Kevin, I don't think it's too much of a surprise, but who do you think won this one?
Oh, Invictus all the way. Gotta be.
So let's take a look at it, and with a actually pretty slim vote, it was very close on this one, but Invictus did take it and ends on moving on to the next round. And I'm not going to lie, I had picked Invictus as well. Wonderful movie, beautifully directed, and shows a great look into what happened with the Rugby World Cup in South Africa. So really great stuff. But now they have to go up against what was arguably the most dominant, and I'm not even joking when I say dominant, the most dominant win that we had in round 1. Literally received, hold on, I got to double check just to make sure, 100% of the vote. Wow. Yeah, yep. I'm not joking when I said this. 100%, and that is Remember the Titans taking down Goal, The Dream Begins. But honestly, was this really too much of a surprise? Craig, we'll start with you.
I don't think so. I think, and I talked about this when we did our selection show, I think that Remember the Titans got hosed, and they're the 4 seed. Like they should have been a 1 or a 2 or a 3, but I wasn't really surprised here. Goal, The Dream Begins is a great movie, but I mean, you got literally a play on words. You got a Titan of a matchup here, and Remember the Titans is going to go. I think it's going to go a long way in this tournament.
Yeah, I definitely think it can. Kevin, your thoughts?
Both great movies. I hate that it's going to be matched up against Invictus in the next round because I think they're both great movies. But I don't know. I don't know how this one's going to go. I think the name recognition, and it's such a great movie with such a great message behind it. I think Remember the Titans moves on.
All right, George, you take it away, man.
Excellent. Well, let's be honest here, boys. Goal, The Dream Begins is the real story here, with, just getting completely trounced. So I'm thinking next year they don't even make it into the bracket, and this is what happens. I think one of those other bubble teams might end up jumping into its slot next year. Oh, yeah. I had a few of my movie guys were asking me, were like, well, what about this film, and what about that one? And I was like, well, you know what? If you guys keep voting, this keeps going well, there'll be a next year.
Yeah.
So and honestly, Remember the Titans, it had tremendous, film. Denzel Washington is awesome in it, as we've said before. Mm-hmm. But right now, I'm going to pick Invictus to beat Remember the Titans. And I have an X Factor. And he's in our top left-hand corner right there, and it's Kev. Kev is going to be the X Factor. The rugby boys are going to come out like a bunch of hockey boys. They band together like nobody else. And they are going to trounce Remember the Titans together at the polls. Watch.
Wow. You heard it here first, fans. Craig, do you agree with that?
The man of the people.
Apparently. Oh, my goodness. Absolutely insane.
I see all that action going on in the chat here for you, Big Kev.
You see it, man. I see it, dude. It's going to happen.
Getting all that love going on. Oh, man. But I tell you what, though, it's still going to be a huge matchup. Invictus and Remember the Titans. I think it's going to be monumentous, and I think it's actually going to end up being probably our closest vote come next round. Watch. I'm telling you now. But we're going to move on here to our next round, and we had a matchup of the Water Boys, our 6th seed, against 11 seed Bend It Like Beckham, and this one was not even close. It was laughable how bad this movie blew out the other. And of course, we had none other than the Waterboy take down Bend It Like Beckham and move on in the tournament.
Yeah, that was
I'd be
definitely my
surprised-
pick. That was my pick. I don't know about you, but that was my pick for sure.
I'd be surprised if there were any votes for Bend It Like Beckham.
There was. There was a
like
couple.
a couple.
There was a few maybe.
Okay.
Exactly, actually.
Two.
But, at the end of the day, come on, you're going up against the Waterboy. It's comedic genius at its best, and I'm not trying to be biased or anything, and I'm sure Kevin would attest to this as well. When you have a movie that gets shot in your own home high school football stadium, what are you really going to do, man? Like, that was monumentous in our town come that time, and what's funny is there's people in that movie that my wife still points out and is like, hey, I know that kid. I know that kid too. I graduated with that one. And it's just so crazy to see things like that with people in movies like that. So absolutely monumentous. Kevin, what were your thoughts on that?
Oh, going off that, not only did I play football in that stadium, also played rugby in that stadium, had some of my best days in that stadium playing rugby. Actually, one of the best games I ever played in that stadium. I think I scored like 4 tries in that stadium in one game.
Nice.
So great stadium, funny movie. I'm a huge Adam Sandler fan, so anything Adam Sandler, I'll sit down and watch. A lot of his earlier stuff, though. Some of the newer stuff I can do without.
Yeah, I'm sure there's a bunch that would probably agree with you on that one.
I'm sure. Yeah. I mean, Waterboy was definitely and you know what? We got to talk about it. In even March Madness, we're talking college ball, the 4 seed is a special spot.
That's true.
And I'll tell you this, anytime that my wife has been picked 4th in her fantasy football, she's won the title. We're not going to talk about how many titles she has over me, but she's won the title.
I'm sure we can turn that into a segment really quickly.
Easily, yeah. She could get on here and trounce me.
Right. When fantasy football comes back, we got to hear more about this. We got to hear more about this
on air
with
your wife.
On air, it's embarrassing. But it makes good TV. Let's do it. I'm in.
Absolutely. But we need someone to match up against Waterboy. So we look at our next matchup, which was number 3 seed Any Given Sunday, taking on number 14 seed We Are Marshall, both of which were wonderful movies. And this one actually was surprisingly close. But Any Given Sunday came out on top. Craig, your thoughts?
I'm not really surprised that it was a close matchup. They're both great movies. But Any Given Sunday, rightfully so, moves on.
Awesome. George, what are your thoughts on this?
Yeah. Oh, definitely, man. We're talking about Oliver Stone at it, probably his peak. And, I mean, come on, LL Cool J, Jamie Foxx, Bill Bellamy from the MTV days was his number 1 wide receiver. There's a throwback for you. And it's just, it changed the way we view sports in sports films, the way the choreography was done. All right. The stunt choreographer for that film has also done Rudy, The Little Giants, ironically, and The Waterboy. So he's been around,
Okay.
He's done quite a few sports movies as like the stunt guy. So he's one of the best out there, man. And that was obviously his best work.
Definitely. Setting up that tackling fuel, man. Setting up that tackling fuel.
Tackling fuel.
That tackling fuel. But you know what? It still was a really close matchup. I was really surprised because I really loved We Are Marshall. Don't get me wrong. I thought Any Given Sunday would have this no matter what. But it's just how much emotion went into We Are Marshall and how much support we saw through the process was honestly a little more surprising than I thought. Because We Are Marshall, while still a great movie, was borderline depressive just because of what story it was centered around. But hey,
yeah, it's a true story. So I mean, and that's an early Anthony Mackie at his best too, and We Are Marshall. All right, you saw his chops at such a young age as an actor. So I think it's quite possible with the Disney streaming platform and the movies that are coming out now, We Are Marshall will get ranked higher next year. Watch. I think it'll get a little bit more love, going forward, because now we got another second round matchup that is just disgusting to look at. Any Given Sunday and
The Waterboy.
And Waterboy, yeah.
I don't know about you guys, but I'm picking comedy over drama. We need to laugh right now.
Yes, we do.
If somebody's going to go back and watch these two, they're going to watch Waterboy over. So that's my pick.
Absolutely. Kevin, what are your thoughts on that?
Waterboy's definitely moving on. Anytime I'm looking at movies nowadays, I go straight to the comedy genre. Everybody needs a laugh right now.
Definitely.
Fun fact, I want to see if you guys know this. Does anyone know the team that Marshall played in the unfortunate plane tragedy that happened to their team? Who did they play before that happened?
Ooh. Oh. Was it NC
It's a
State?
Mid-American
No.
team. No, I thought it was a
You're in the
Mid-American
right
team.
state. You're in the
I'm
right
in the right
state.
state though, right? It wasn't not
Yep.
NC State, but it was
North Carolina
can't be.
A&T?
No, they actually played ECU, the Pirates.
Ah, I should have.
The only reason I know that, my wife's whole family is from ECU, born and raised. They are diehard Pirate fans. So, yeah, they told me that. And I think they have like a memorial set up there in ECU in honor for that Marshall team. So it's pretty cool what they've done for that and honoring and remembering them. So, yeah, I think right now is comedy all the way in the Waterboy the next round over any given Sunday.
Definitely. Craig?
I'm going with the majority here. I think Waterboy, I think you guys are spot on that comedies are always going in this kind of a tournament, unless it's a very compelling story. I don't like, like the kind of like The Blind Side, which is coming up here, or, movies like that. I don't see any of those types of movies making it super far in the tournament. Those types of comedies. We talk about all the Adam Sandler movies, the Kevin Costner movies, the Will Ferrell movies, all those people that are the big names of those. I think those types of movies move on.
Definitely. And I have to agree, Waterboy is just way too dominant of a movie. And I think while Any Given Sunday is good, comedy will win out, especially in this type of atmosphere. So definitely Waterboy for the win. But in our last part of this region, we have two more matchups to go through. The first being our 7-10 matchup between Varsity Blues and The Longest Yard. And this one was pretty close as well, but The Longest Yard edged out Varsity Blues for the win. George, your thoughts?
All right, let's just talk about that. The Longest Yard, of course, is going to edge out because I know that there were some wrestling fans out there this past weekend that were watching WrestleMania, and then they started watching, some old movies, and you know what? Freaking Kevin Nash, Bill Goldberg, Stone Cold Steve Austin, maybe Chris Carnage. Were you in that movie?
I don't believe so. I neither confirm nor deny these allegations.
You were one of the prisoners. You were the good prisoners, right? The ones that got allowed to watch.
Yeah, but except I was probably riding the pine, just drinking water.
But that the ability for MTV to put together, and really Adam Sandler to pull together that cast, from wrestlers to former athletes to comedic athletes, Terry Crews before Brooklyn Nine-Nine. It's fun to watch, man. That's what it comes down to. Kevin said it before. It's fun to watch. And Varsity Blues, let's be honest, I don't think we remember it. We watched it when we were teens, and I'm not letting my 6-year-old watch it now.
No.
That's just not. It's not appropriate, So.
Oh my goodness.
It's not on my radar.
Definitely, Kevin. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I'm going with the pick that everyone made. I'm definitely going Longest Yard. Another Adam Sandler flick. Got to go with it.
Oh yeah, definitely was a good win for them. Craig, what do you think about this big win for them?
Again, not surprising. Longest Yard. We kind of knew going into this matchup with that they would probably beat out Varsity Blues, but it was just like George said, Varsity Blues is not a movie that a lot of people remember outside of people that are our age. So, the comedy is going to win out. So I'm not really too surprised that Longest Yard wins out here.
Definitely. But moving on, we got to have someone to go up against Longest Yard. And in our last matchup, we had number 2 seed, The Blind Side, going up against number 15 seed, Invincible. And excuse me, and I don't know about you guys, but this one for me was really hard. And it's because I love both of these stories so much, especially with The Blind Side and the story it told of being able to overcome all obstacles and be able to still make it in the NFL. And of course, Invincible, Mark Wahlberg, and Eagles fan. I can't help myself. So, that movie literally was made for me, I feel like. So at the end of the day, though, with 66% of the vote exactly, The Blind Side beat out Invincible to move on to take on The Longest Yard in the next round. Craig, your thoughts?
I voted for Invincible here. I voted for your boy. So
I appreciate it.
I figured this would be an upset. I figured it would be an upset that Invincible would be one of those compelling movies that could move on. But Longest Yard versus Blind Side, with those two, I'm going to take Longest Yard.
Oh, man. Yeah, might still have to. George, got input on that?
Oh, definitely. I had Blindside all the way. I'm sorry to tell you, Chris. I did not vote for your boy. And it really comes down to that Sandra Bullock is just fire in this freaking movie, okay? Everybody fell in love with her. And not to mention, The Blind Side is everywhere right now. Turn on the TV. It's in sync with, Freeform. It's on Disney Plus. It's everywhere, man. You can't get away from it. It's always on the tube. And when it comes to The Blind Side and The Longest Yard, it's going to be a lot closer than you think, but The Blind Side is just a better overall movie. And it does have a little bit of subtle humor in it. There are a few lines in there that is still just enough, and it's a feel-good where it's not depressing, but, still kind of makes you laugh a little bit.
Right.
I think it'll be a more family-friendly film moving forward.
Definitely could be. And Kevin, what's your weight in on this?
Oh, I'm agreeing with that 100%. Is Blindside's moving on, definitely.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Oh,
it's gonna be a landslide.
I have to agree. Honestly, Blind Side is just so good of a movie, and I love The Longest Yard. Don't get me wrong. I love The Longest Yard, but The Blind Side is one of those captivating, just powerful stories that you just can't look away from, that it honestly infects you. I know by the end of the movie, half the time I'm crying, so, whatever. But at the end of the day, it's such a great film. But looking at our main bracket now, we can now fill in that very first part. Boom, there it is. So we're finally getting this bracket more and more filled out as we go. And now we're going to switch gears over to Region 2, our wrestling, our boxing region. A lot of exciting stuff going on in this region, and a couple surprising and super close battles in this. I thought we were going to end up with a tie somewhere in here, and I'm super surprised we didn't. But we're going to start out right at the top. We had Rocky, the entire series, taking on Angels in the Outfield. Now, a lot of people were thinking, man, Angels in the Outfield against Rocky. This isn't maybe really fair for Angels in the Outfield. But I have a surprise, guys. I have a big surprise.
No way.
Stop.
Rocky moves on with 66% of the vote, and it takes down Angels in the Outfield. I almost got you guys.
There was no way you were going to pull that twice. Little Giants beats out Rudy, and friggin' this one beats out Rocky. We would be like, what the hell is going on over there?
I swear I didn't rig it.
In the water.
Oh,
Too much, man.
But your guys' thoughts on this? George, we'll throw it at you first.
Well, I mean, Rocky, I'm glad that moved over. You had me scared there for a little bit. So I'm guessing that it was a lot closer than we thought. And I think just the name, Angels in the Outfield, when you put it out there in people's minds, they went, I completely forgot about that flick. And it just brought them back, And it's like trying to figure out who the boss is. And they're like, well, he's Tony Danza. He's on the mound right now. So I think next year Angels in the Outfield gets a higher ranking based off of this response that we've gotten from the fans.
Definitely.
But the Rocky series is just too classic, man. It's everywhere. We know what it's about. It's one of the best, boxing legends out there. It's better than some of the real fighters.
Yeah, I can't argue with that too much. Craig, your take.
Even Matthew McConaughey in center field, it's not all right in this matchup, and I'm not really surprised Rocky won.
Yeah, definitely not. Honestly, Rocky was always a great series, and Angels in the Outfield. While I honestly was one of those kids, I watched that movie so religiously and loved every moment of it. Come on, Rocky's Rocky, man. That's inspired generations of people to be able to fight back and fight for what they believe in and fight for how much they know they're worth. So at the end of the day, I'm not too surprised here. Kevin, were you surprised at all by Rocky winning?
Not at all. Rocky is going to keep moving on, I think.
Definitely, definitely. Now we're going back here to Region 2. We need someone to go up against Rocky, and what ended up being probably one of our closer battles literally came down to just mere votes between the two of these movies, with The Wrestler at our 8 seed and Warrior as our 9 seed. Oh, man. What do you guys think? Who do you think took it?
I'm going with Wrestler.
I'm going Warrior.
Wrestler, Warrior. Craig, what do you think?
I picked Warrior. It's a super underrated movie.
Super underrated. I picked Wrestler, and the Wrestler took it and ended up moving on to take on Rocky in the next round.
It's all the wrestling
Excellent.
fans we got that like them some Chris Carnage.
Following Chris Carnage.
Now you know what? Now we're gonna talk about the Chris Carnage effect.
Oh, snap.
Could it happen? Could this happen again? Do I see? I mean, I don't know what your best move was. I'm gonna guess it was a moonsault, right? It was a moonsault.
I actually could do a moonsault, and I used it regularly. But funny enough, was not my best move. I actually did a pretty nasty F5. I'm not gonna lie. Pretty nasty F5. But yeah, man, moonsault.
That might hurt you now. Saying that you did the F5, that might hurt you now a little bit.
I mean, as long as Brock Lesnar doesn't bust in taking me to Suplex City, I think I'll be okay.
All right. Well, I'm gonna go with the Chris Carnage effect, and I'm gonna say that it's quite possible that the Wrestler F5's Rocky. Watch.
Oh, huge prediction, Craig. Your take.
Huge.
Rocky's too big of a series, too big of a franchise, I think, for this matchup. I think it'll be closer than we might expect, but I'm gonna take Rocky.
Let me find my boo sound effect over here. Kevin, what do you think?
Question for you: the Creed movies, does this get umbrellaed in the Rocky series? Because if so, I do think the Rocky series is going to take down the Wrestler. If not, I think you're going to leave out that younger generation, and Chris's fan base is going to pull in the Wrestler and the upset. Right. I'm going to say the underdogs pull it out.
That's right. Creed has its own spot in this tournament, so Rocky is not supported by Creed in this. So definitely something to make note of. But I have to agree. I think the Wrestler might have the strength to suplex down Rocky. So we'll definitely see what happens. But moving on in our bracket, we have our number 5 seed, A League of Their Own, taking on number 12, Southpaw. And this one was quite interesting onto itself. This one actually ended up a lot closer than I thought it was going to. But A League of Their Own ended up taking it at the end of the day. Kevin, your thoughts?
Oh, I'm all for it. Being a history teacher, League of Their Own, he's got a message behind it. And just very quotable movie. So I'm going to go all for it. It's good. It's all-around good movie.
Definitely. Craig, your take?
It's a classic movie. I'm not really surprised that League of Their Own wins. Southpaw, again, great underrated film, but I'm not surprised. League of Their Own definitely deserves to move on.
Definitely have to agree. George, you're shaking your head there. You okay? You need something for your neck?
I'm good, man. I love The League of Their Own. I'm shaking my head because I'm just surprised that Southpaw put up a good fight, to be honest.
Yeah, Southpaw actually
I'm gonna have to rewatch that film and take another look at it. I think it might be one of those underrated boxing movies that maybe jumps up a few spots next year. We'll see.
Yeah, definitely could. Going back to our bracket, though, in our next matchup, we had number 4 seed Raging Bull taking on number 13 seed 42, and this one actually ended up being razor thin, and Raging Bull ended up coming out on top, giving us a nice 5-4 matchup in our next round. George, your take?
Well, I mean, come on, man. That Raging Bull is easily one of the best movies out there. It is cinematically beautiful. Mm-hmm. And there's even a documentary that Martin Scorsese did, if you look for it online, where it's Raging Bull just behind the scenes, and it talks about the things that he did to get De Niro prepped for that movie. Oh man, it's amazing to watch, amazing to see. But I'm not sure. I'm not sure what's going to happen moving forward in this interesting 4-5 matchup, because we're talking about that X factor, comedy versus drama.
Yeah,
Quotable lines, like Kev said, man. I mean, you got a lot of quotable lines in a League of Their Own. I can watch a League of Their Own with the wife. She enjoys it. She will not enjoy Raging Bull, so I'm gonna go with a League of Their Own. I'm gonna take her pick on this one.
That's great. Kevin, who do you think your wife would take in this?
She would actually take Raging Bull in this. Surprising.
Snap.
Yeah, she's a Carolina girl, so she's got to go with the Carolina baseball story.
Oh man, that's so much craziness.
No.
So now we know
I'm
her
not
pick.
getting in the ring with your wife.
You're Oh man, but we know what she would pick now. But are you gonna follow suit?
I have to, especially during these quarantine times. You got to keep the wife happy.
Isn't that the truth? So Craig, how's that working out for you?
Man.
Well, I think it'll be a good matchup. I think it's gonna be a pretty close matchup, just like Raging Bull had a tough matchup against 42. But I'm going with League of Their Own. I think they're gonna pull out a tight victory.
Yeah, I have to absolutely agree. A League of Their Own, I feel like is incredibly quotable, and also kind of gave insight to a very trying time, especially for women in sports. So definitely very interesting. A lot of what could happen with that, and I think they have the potential definitely to move on. But looking down in the rest of our bracket, in our next matchup, we have number 6 seed Bull Durham taking on number 11 seed the Creed series. And in this one, it definitely was a interesting matchup. Voting kept going back and forth, and this one ended up literally being decided by 2 votes. Not even joking you when I say that. 2 votes for Creed to come out on top.
Wow.
Craig, your thoughts?
That's an upset. It's not, I guess it's not too surprising just because of that younger audience, and Creed has been a good series so far, but you talk about Bull Durham, that's again another classic movie, so I'm a little surprised with this upset.
Definitely. George, what's your take?
I have to agree. I'm surprised, but not surprised, because yes, Bull Durham is a phenomenal movie. It's hysterical, but you're talking about an older film. We're looking at tapping into the younger generation, and here's a little bit of a comparison for you guys in terms of what Creed did with its first 2 movies versus Rocky's first 2 movies. The first 2 movies for Rocky had a little bit of an up and down. Creed went straight for the throat. They went with the creation story of Creed, and then they brought in Drago's son right off the bat. They didn't screw around when it came to putting together a very concise 1-2 punch, no pun intended. And I think Creed can maybe surprise us a little bit. It's extremely well done. The soundtrack is beautiful. Tessa Thompson, the actress in Creed, is a part of that soundtrack. And her tracks are awesome. They're completely lit.
Man, can't go wrong with that. Kevin, your take on this?
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. Creed's moving on. Well done movie all around.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And Creed, I was very surprised to see them take this one. Like I said, as I was going through the votes, this one was never separated by more than 2 or 3 votes the entire time I'm going through each one. So it was absolutely crazy to see how this turned out. And, hey, hats off to Creed, but Creed is going to probably have some stiff competition going into the next round, because our next movie ended up winning with 66% of the vote itself, and that was none other than Moneyball taking down $1 Million Baby. I'm sure George is happy with that. We'll throw it to you first, bud.
Oh, of course I am. That is one of my favorite movies in this bracket is Moneyball. I mean, you cannot get away from that film. Now, I feel bad for Creed right now because I think they got the short end of the stick here in this second round matchup, man. That they got to go up against Moneyball. They got to go up against Brad Pitt, who just finished winning a freaking Oscar. Like, this dude is unstoppable right now. And the thing with Moneyball is that we're also talking during a downtime of sports. And what is, MLB going to do? What are other sports going to do when they have to deal with their escrow situations because of no season and et cetera? Watch, a lot of teams are going to be pitching pennies now moving forward, and they're going to be playing a little bit of Moneyball, whether it's NFL, whether it's NHL, NBA, you name it. So I'm sure every GM is picking up a copy of that book and watching that movie for reference.
Definitely. Kevin, what do you think about Moneyball taking down $1 Million Baby?
It's a good movie. Great. I always support those organizations that can put out successful teams with little to no resources. I mean, look at the Tampa Bay Rays, for example, able to take very small payroll and compete in every day. And the way he handled that movie and looked at the scope of it, it's very similar to Draft Day. Actually, shows you the ins and outs of organization, and I think that's what's going to draw people in. Is everyone conducts their fantasy football leagues, their fantasy everything. There's even fantasy rugby out there. They want to know the ins and outs, and I think that's why people are attracted to movies like Draft Day and movies like Moneyball, because it gives you the chance to think like a general manager and think like the guys making the top decisions.
So if I end up drafting Kevin Wathen for my fantasy rugby team, am I going to have a lot of success?
I don't know. That depends if I get a yellow or red card that game.
Definitely. Craig, what are your thoughts on Moneyball moving
on? Not surprising. Moneyball is I think it's a much more known film amongst kind of our type of audience. $1 Million Baby, we talked about it in the selection show. It got all this critical acclaim, but it just didn't land well with a lot of audience, I feel like. So not really surprised that Moneyball moved on, but Moneyball versus Creed now is going to be a really, really intriguing matchup. I think Moneyball moves on, but I think it'll be like razor thin because Creed series has been such a good series so far.
Yeah, you might be right there, but I still think Moneyball still has that factor of what it was able to bring. There's that, the nice pop culture factor of it that's really going to keep pushing it through, honestly. Even though Creed is more appealed to a younger audience right now, I still think Moneyball definitely has a shot. And I agree, though, it will be razor thin. So definitely going to be interesting. But in our last matchup, both of these next two movies ended up winning in dominating fashion, with The Sandlot taking down Major League and Field of Dreams taking down Ali, setting up a nice matchup between Sandlot and Field of Dreams. Craig, your thoughts?
Sandlot and Field of Dreams, man, that's a tough one to pick from.
Yeah.
And because of that, I'm going to go out on a limb here, and I'm going to call Sandlot upsetting Field of Dreams, just because. Think of the cult status of Sandlot, and they're talking about redoing the movie again, and a lot of people our age remember that movie very vividly, and Field of Dreams, a great, amazing film. I'm going to call Sandlot.
Oh man, that's huge. Kevin, what do you think about that?
All right, I'm going to take you guys on a little bit of a journey here.
Uh-oh.
So Sandlot, Field of Dreams. Obviously, Sandlot, you got the kids organizing baseball, but we know social distancing. You can't be close and play those pickup games back in the. Now, Field of Dreams, you have a lot of boyfriends, a lot of husbands out there that are bored of staying in the house, and they got plenty of land in their backyard. So they're going to go backyard. During this quarantine, they're going to build their Field of Dreams, as we're going to see Field of Dreams moving on in this matchup. You're going to see a lot of backyard ball fields in America because people are bored out of their minds.
I'm not going to lie. I think that's my favorite assessment I've seen so far. Not going to lie. George, try and follow that one up.
I'm not going to follow up that at all. I'm going to be right back. I'm going to get started on my baseball lot. I'm going to tear down the kids' treehouse because they don't need one, and I'm going to start building. I'm going to build it so they come.
Hey, they will come. They will come.
And I got to be honest, man. Come on. Field of Dreams versus Sandlot. Are you kidding me? Have you seen Yaya on TMZ? The dude's like a roided out, crazy ass freak. Like he needs to go home and just sleep it off.
Oh man,
It's not gonna happen, dude.
Yeah, Field of Dreams I feel is way too powerful a movie, and for what it represented for baseball in so many different ways. Sandlot was great. You know, it had a lot of classicness to it, especially for children, but honestly, Field of Dreams just so powerful. And I agree. I'm getting ready probably after we're done with this, and I'm gonna go in the garage and grab my nails and grab my hammer and go out back and get to work, man, because I'm inspired now.
Let's go.
But with
Let's
Region
go.
2, that is our full bracket there that we are now adding to the main bracket, and that moves us on to Region 3, which was a lot of our basketball and racing. So definitely a very interesting region, and we'll start right at the very top with number 1 seed White Men Can't Jump taking on number 16 seed Teen Wolf. And it's no shock here. Let's not even play around with this one. White Men Can't Jump took this one by an extremely large margin and ended up being able to move on to the next round. Kevin, your thoughts?
I can't jump personally. I get about 2 inches off the ground, but White Men can jump all the way.
How did you play tight end for us then back in the day? I don't even get it then.
Oh, it was very short passes, right at the chest.
Well, yeah, it helps when our quarterback was like 5'8".
Yeah, anything over my head, it was for the wide receiver. A bad throw by the quarterback.
Oh my gosh. Craig, your take.
Not surprised. White Man Can't Jump, I think is just, we can even skip this next matchup and just say that White Man Can't Jump goes into the Sweet 16 because it's not even going to be close.
Wow.
Being that guy,
You
George,
know
do you
what?
agree
No,
with that?
man. I'm with Craig on this, man, for sure. Are you kidding me?
Yep.
White Man's gonna just hit it from 3. Wesley Snipes and Woody Harrelson in the only 2 movies that were ever any good. Let's just, I mean, they tried to get back together for Money Train. I don't know what the hell that was.
Yeah.
But White Man Can't Jump is a great flick. It is a pure classic. People to this day still go to those courts on, out in Venetia Beach and pretend like they can ball like these two.
Mm-hmm.
You have a YouTuber out there right now. I can't remember his name. I'm going to have to try to find it. But he goes and dresses up super nerdy, and then he balls out on these guys. And he's got 1 million views. We have our own Billy Hoyle, this 15-year-old kid, pretending to be Billy Hoyle out there. They're going to move on to the next round. They're going to beat whoever's coming next, and they're going to go far.
Well, and that next matchup was between, oh my goodness, killing me. Oh, I'm going to the wrong region now. Look at me. I'm all freaking distracted by you now. We had number 8 seed Rush taking on number 9 seed Ford versus Ferrari, and Ford versus Ferrari ended up taking it in a close one. But like he said, now they got to go up against White Men Can't Jump, and I sadly have to agree. I don't think they have a shot.
Nah, no shot. But you know what? Good on Ford versus Ferrari. It's a phenomenal flick. They got past at least first round, So I give them props, but they got the bad draw.
Getting that nice, what do they call that? That emotional win? No. Sorry. What do they call it?
Yeah. Hey, come on, man.
The win that doesn't matter.
The win that doesn't matter, they got it. It's like a team that makes the March Madness, and they're like, yes, we get to go play Duke.
Yeah, I was just about to say it too. But you know what? Since we already know probably what's going to end up happening in this one, we're going to move on to the next one because this did end up being the tightest vote of the entire first round. And it was between number 5 seed Seabiscuit and number 12 seed Days of Thunder. Literally, this came down to a single vote. Literally could have went either way, but Seabiscuit ended up taking it out on top and put down Tom Cruise in Days of Thunder. Craig, your thoughts?
This is one of those matchups. I mean, Seabiscuit's such a great movie that kind of, it ages well, and Days of Thunder is just a very underrated film, and we talked about it in the selection show, all the NASCAR fans that also kind of follow the show. We figured they would come out and vote, but I think Seabiscuit, the better movie, ends up winning.
Definitely. George, your take.
definitely the case, but I also think that is very true. Days of Thunder still had a little bit of staying power, being that it's Tom Cruise, and he has had that Top Gun, the Top Gun movie, the reboot or whatever sequel or whatever it's called.
It's a
So, and
sequel, yeah.
he's always in everybody's mind. So you mentioned Tom Cruise in a film, people are gonna watch it. But Seabiscuit overall is a better movie. Period. Film wise, acting wise, Jeff Bridges excellent in that film. So Seabiscuit definitely deserves to move forward.
Oh man, Kevin, do you agree with that assessment?
Yeah, I agree with that all the way.
Oh man, y'all killing me with this. Y'all killing me. It's okay
Easy,
though.
R. Kelly.
I voted for Seabiscuit. I can't lie. Anyways, so in our next matchup, though, we had our number 4 seed Hoosiers taking on Love and Basketball, our 13 seed. And without too much surprise, and ended up being a decent little margin, Hoosiers ended up coming out on top and will now have to take on Seabiscuit in the next round. Craig, what's your take on that?
Just one of the iconic basketball movies of all time, Hoosiers. So I'm not really surprised. Love and Basketball, great film, but like I said, Hoosiers, iconic basketball movie. No surprise they moved on.
Definitely. Kevin, Hoosiers taking on Seabiscuit. What do you think's going to happen?
Hoosiers are moving on, and I'm gonna make a call out to my Michigan family that's tied into Indiana basketball. They have been for big time supporters of it. Grew up playing basketball, so I think you're going to see some votes coming in from Michigan on moving the Hoosiers forward.
Oh man, George, you agree with that assessment?
I absolutely do. The Kev factor is gonna come into play again. It looks like, jeez, man, this guy's rugby. He's got people in Indiana. He's got some cousin making a new stadium in Iowa. I mean, this guy's freaking everywhere, dude. I'm gonna call it like it is. But Hoosiers and Seabiscuit, two classics. But what it really comes down to is sport popularity. Horse racing has had a little bit more. Some people don't like it. And I can definitely understand that. We've talked a lot with, Horse Radio Network, where the Flintstone Media, where I work, also works in connection to them. They're not big horse racing fans. They admire the history behind it, but currently not big horse racing fans. So I think the popularity of basketball is going to overtake horse racing right here.
Honestly, with how Seabiscuit was made, it was very masterfully made, very wonderfully produced, and was able to really keep an audience on the edge of their seats. However, I have to agree, horse racing is not like what it used to be. It's even been outlawed in some areas as well. So Hoosiers, though, is such a classic when it comes to basketball and the Indiana connection. And, of course, I have my own Indiana connection. Go Notre Dame. But at the end of the day, it's going to be, I think, a real big win and move for Hoosiers when they end up taking down Seabiscuit. So definitely going to see how a lot of that will shake out when all of our listeners get to go and vote on podcastcity.net later tonight. But in our next matchup, we had number 6 Space Jam taking on number 11 Semi-Pro, and this one hurt me. I thought Semi-Pro had the chance to upset Space Jam, but Space Jam ended up taking it with 60% of the vote and ended up moving on. George, your take.
And I am surprised because I also had Semi-Pro as the upset. It was one of my upset picks. So I do lose a point there, but I am glad to see Space Jam move forward, although I'm surprised. Kids today, they have no clue who the hell the Looney Tunes are. They're used to Mickey and the Roadster Racers and Goofy and, freaking Goof Troop or whatever else you want to call it. And, hey, man, Powerline's going to drop an album soon. Watch.
Been waiting on it.
Been waiting 25 years for it, boys.
Yep.
So Looney Tunes, people are like, who the hell are the Looney Tunes? But you know what, man? I think kids are looking for more content now. Parents are sick of the same Disney stuff. They're tapping into some old stuff that they used to watch. I put a poll up for Couch Dad's podcast, like what are some things that you're showing to your kids now? It's no longer the Disney stuff. We're reaching deep, man, in this quarantine. We're reaching down into our guts and trying to pull out some gems. So Space Jam was that gem.
Oh, man. Kevin, you agree with that assessment?
Oh, I agree with it. And I have to go digging for some memorabilia. I got a Space Jam's cassette tape back in the day.
Wow.
Great soundtrack. So
Beautiful. I used to have the Toon Squad jersey, man.
There you
the
go.
basketball jersey. And
Yeah.
then I got real big. It don't fit no more.
I ain't gonna lie, I have a Space Jam CD, so I can't, say I don't have anything either. But Craig, do you have any secret memorabilia sitting in your closet?
Not anymore. I mean, I used to have the CD. I used to listen to that all the time.
Did you believe you could fly?
You can't believe that anymore, man.
I'm a
It's
little
poor
surprised
taste.
that Semi-Pro But hey, Josh is calling you out in the chat here, saying you need to pick a new team, Chris.
Oh.
When his teams win championships, then I'll listen. Sorry, the only team he follows that wins championships is Jimmy Johnson. So just saying. Love you, Josh.
Hey, Jimmy Johnson wins championships, though, right?
Not much anymore, but that's under the rug,
Yeah, it's behind us. It's behind us.
Oh my gosh, y'all kill me so much. But looking at our next matchup, Space Jam's going to have an interesting one to take on because Coach Carter took down He Got Game and had 60% of the vote itself. Not even joking. Coach Carter took down He Got Game and will now take on Space Jam in the next round. Craig, we'll kick it back to you.
This is the worst travesty of all upsets in this tournament. Okay, come on. Like, the Samuel L. Jackson factor, like, it really must be that strong because He Got Game is one of the best basketball movies of all time. And the fact that it went down, I'm upset with the fans right now. This is bullshit to me.
Maybe they drank too much Samuel L. Jackson because it gets you drunk.
Probably, man. I'm thinking, you know what? We're in Florida, boys. Do we have the hanging Chad? Do we need to do a recount? Because that's what I'm calling for right here, right now. It's Florida.
Let me go through it real quick.
He said 60% of the vote. 60% of the vote goes to Coach Carter.
Oh crap, man! I mean, come on. I think we need to put up like a watch party for He Got Game so people can see what a glorious film this is with Denzel and Ray Allen. I mean, come on. The language in it, the dialogue is ahead of its time for a movie that was done 10 something years ago.
Very true.
I don't know,
Very
man.
True.
I don't know. Samuel L. Jackson, I guess. His Avengers check must have, cleared on some of the votes. My only thing.
Oh, killing me. Kevin, any input on this?
Coach Carter, you had your brief moment. Next round, Space Jam all the way.
Oh, snap.
Yeah, I'm with that.
Yeah, definitely.
Look at that, unanimous.
Enjoy your 5 minutes in history, buddy.
Yeah.
It's gone.
I'll be the odd man out, and I'm calling Coach Carter to take down Space Jam because of the Samuel L. Jackson alone.
Boo.
Why are you flexing?
Because Samuel L. Jackson was already flexing on He Got Game, so I got to keep it going. So in our next
that makes zero
matchup,
sense.
like Chris Carnage makes sense. In our next matchup, we have our 7-10 matchup between Blue Chips and Above the Rim. And this one definitely was interesting and literally came down to a split of 2 votes. Literally 2 votes separated this one. And guess what? Blue Chips came out on top and will move on to the next round. Kevin, your take.
I'm all for that. Good pick. Good pick by the people.
You agree, George?
I do agree. That's a solid pick, man. Blue Chips is a great flick. The story behind that Shaq did this film and then told Orlando draft Penny Hardaway. I mean, come on. That's a great story of behind the scenes of it. And you're talking about a movie that's still talking to this day about the NCAA paying off their players. Mm-hmm. It's just, it's something that's still in the forefront for a movie that was done who knows how long ago. So I think Blue Chips is going to maybe surprise a few people. We'll see. I'm not sure. It depends on who they go up against.
That's a tough matchup.
Yeah, definitely. And Greg, I don't know. You might need to go say something because people in the chat are telling me I shouldn't be flexing, that I got nothing to flex. People need to calm down. Get out their magnifying glasses or something. I mean, their glasses.
Well, you do have a black shirt against a black background, so I can only see your head.
Well, it's only
And the
so I
awesome-
could represent the Super Radio Brothers, who are one of our great
I was
shows
just
on
about to
Podcast
say, I can see
Network.
the Super Radio Brothers logo, which is fantastic.
Definitely. Gotta give them a shout out. But in our last matchup of Region 3 came between number 2, Talladega Nights, and number 15, Air Bud. And I'm not going to lie, this was not even close. Air Bud literally had 3 votes. Talladega Nights blew them out of the water and will now take on Blue Chips in the second round. What do you think of this matchup, George?
I'm gonna go to my new buddy Kev right here and be like, shake and bake. Give me some right there. Yes.
Got it.
Shake and bake is going through, and it definitely deserves to be. It is one of the most quotable lines in this entire tournament. It is shake and bake, and quotable movies in this entire tournament. And you know what? It's gonna happen, boys. I'm sorry. It's going to put down Blue Chips. It's moving on to the next one.
Nice. Craig, you agree with both of them?
Yeah, I think Air Bud got a bad draw. I mean, it could have probably done better in a better matchup. But Talladega Nights, one of the best movies in this region. I see this movie seeing Space Jam in the next round. I think that I'm going to project that far.
Projecting that far out, man, that's saying something. I had no doubt though the Talladega Nights is going to win this. Definitely agree that out of all 64 of these movies, this is probably the most quotable movie of the entire bracket. So much, I quote this movie almost every day because, you know, I love my baby Jesus the best. But at the end of the day, still a great movie, and I definitely think it'll also take down Blue Chips when we go on to the next round. So it's going to be definitely very, very interesting. As we go back to our main bracket now, we can now fill in Region 3. Boom, there it is, right there.
And Derek the beer guy just called you out and said, "You're weak, son."
Yeah, you're weak as you sold me your workout equipment that's now sitting in my garage. But okay, just saying.
You're just getting roasted in this chat today.
It might be the most active chat we've ever had.
That's because he had Rudy
which is
going all the
awesome.
way, and then just changed from then.
Well, you know what? It matches up with me predicting the Tampa Bay Lightning to sweep all the way to the Stanley Cup last year and get swept themselves in the first round. So my picks are working out beautifully, apparently. So we'll roll with it. but looking at Region 4, this is our hockey, golf, and our tennis, sundry other sports, our mashup, if you will. And our very first matchup came between the number 1 seeded Mighty Ducks Trilogy against number 16 seeded Mystery Alaska. And I will say Mystery Alaska actually did get votes, but it was nowhere near enough to try and take down the Mighty Ducks, as the Mighty Ducks win this one and move on to the next round. George, your take.
Quack, 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 boys. I mean, come on, man. We're talking about easily one of the most iconic hockey movies out there with the Mighty Ducks trilogy. We're talking about kids that just had a great time shooting this thing. Not to mention, Gordon Bombay is coming back to a series on Disney Plus of the Mighty Ducks. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, you're talking about that now. So you got that being brought back up. So what's going on? People are going back and they're watching the Mighty Ducks again. It completely spawned a huge lawsuit with an actual NHL team, Disney versus the NHL. When else does that happen in sports, man? It doesn't happen.
Never.
So I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised at all. I just can't wait for my Bombay jersey to get here.
Oh my gosh, killing me. Your take, Craig.
Hey, I want one too, by the way. I'll take a Bombay jersey.
Yeah. I don't know. You kind of look like Goldberg.
Yeah, I think Mighty Ducks.
You guys killed me. I swear.
Ouch, that hurts. I think the Mighty Ducks trilogy is probably going to be one of the toughest movies to beat in this tournament. It's just all the things that you mentioned, George, and I think it's probably going to be one of those movies I would not be surprised to see it in the Final Four of the championship game.
Definitely. You agree with that, Kevin?
He has a lot of confidence in that flying V.
I do.
I
do.
I got the same confidence going forward. Iconic movie. Being from Michigan, I mean, everyone knows you do roller hockey in the summer and then onto the pond skating in the wintertime. So hockey all the way.
Oh man, craziness. In our next matchup, though, Mighty Ducks are going to have to take on one of these two, and that's our 8 seed Battle of the Sexes against number 9 seed Borg versus McEnroy. And this one was not even close. Battle of the Sexes, I believe, has 70% of the vote. Ends up moving on in this one to take on the Mighty Ducks. Think this is even much of a matchup at all, Craig?
No, I don't think so. I mean, it's Battle of the Sexes is a great movie, but like I said, Mighty Ducks is going to be just one of those powerhouses of a movie in this tournament.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think this vote's going to be any close in the second round.
You agree with that, George?
I do agree with that. Mighty Ducks is my pick to the Final Four, boys. I mean, I'm calling it right here, right now. They're going to come out of this bracket all the way. They'll get a few tests along the way, but it's not in the next round. And credit to Battle of the Sexes. If you haven't seen that movie, definitely take a look at it. Definitely watch it. It's actually very well done. But come on, you got the Knuckle Puck, you got the Flying V, you got Gunnar Stahl from Iceland. He is going to wreck you. You got the Triple Deke. I mean,
the Bash Brothers.
The Bash Brothers, Fulton Reed. Come on, man. You can't stop them.
Oh, yeah, they might just be too much. But in our next matchup, it was definitely not close as well. Dodgeball taking on Tin Cup, our 5-12 matchup, and Dodgeball took this by a landslide and will now move on to the next round. Kevin, your thoughts?
Dodgeball. Yes, another quotable movie, another instant classic. I mean, I could watch that thing over and over again. Great movie.
Absolutely. George, you agree?
Oh, absolutely. This is that region, boys, that we just knew that there was these cult movies that just reached other echelons. Not to say anything bad about all the other movies that are great. Tin Cup is hysterical. Mm-hmm. Cheech Marin as a caddy. Come on. That guy is hysterical in that movie. But Dodgeball just takes it to other levels, man. It really does. And it's just, like you said, probably the Talladega Nights, Dodgeball are up there as the most quotable movies in this bracket.
Definitely. Craig, your take.
The Purple Cobra is moving on.
Oh, no.
Are you Ben Stiller in this scenario, or are you Michelle?
I'm short enough to be Ben Stiller, so I'm going with that. I just don't have the facial hair.
But Chris is jacked enough to be Michelle, right? He's
that's
just
Michelle.
Up. Michelle.
Oh my gosh, y'all killing me so much. But in our next matchup, we had number 4 Caddyshack taking on number 13 Goon. And this one kind of was surprising as I was starting to tally it up. It stayed close up until the end, and then Caddyshack ended up pulling away and taking this one, and will now move on to take on Dodgeball in the next round. George, your thoughts?
Well, all right. Now, this is going to be interesting because you're talking about comedy gold here in the next round. I'm not surprised Caddyshack took out Goon. Goon put up a good fight. It's a lot funnier of a movie than people give it credit for. Jay Baruchel, who's the actor in it, was also the writer, and he did a bit of the directing, so he had a large part in that film. Credits to him, being a hockey guy from Canada. Mm-hmm. But Dodgeball versus Caddyshack, you're talking about old classic versus new classic, and you're talking about two of the greatest comedies in this bracket right now. I mean, this is going to be really freaking close. This is a matchup that you thought you'd see in the later round. Guess what? It's right here, right now.
Yeah, right up front. Craig, you agree with that assessment?
Yeah, it's gonna be a tight matchup. But I mean, this is kind of just like in the regular NCAA tournament. Sometimes you just get a tough draw in matchups, and no matter who wins, is probably gonna play the Mighty Ducks. So I would really love to see a Mighty Ducks versus Dodgeball matchup. I think that is gonna be really, really tough to pick. But I'm gonna pick Dodgeball to move on.
Ooh, man, Kevin, you agree with all that?
I'm going to go old classic on this one. I'm going to go Caddyshack, even though I was hoping for the upset against Goon. I'm a big Goon fan. I'm like the Goon of rugby. love to get into it. Love to back my teammates up. But, yeah, I think Caddyshack moves on.
Oh, man. Honestly, I have to go with Dodgeball on this. I think Dodgeball, just because of the quotability how more recent of a film it is, how much of a little cult classic it is. I think it has the power to be able to, what dare I say, dodge, dip, dive, duck, and dodge Caddyshack to be able to take it on to the next round. So we'll definitely see how that shakes out. But looking on in our next round of the bracket, we had, oh my goodness, I've already lost myself here. Number 6, Miracle, taking on number 11, Cool Runnings. This was another one that was literally separated by only 2 votes. Can you guys guess who won?
Jamaica, we have a bobsled team.
Sled team.
That's right. None other than Cool Runnings ended up taking this one and took down Miracle by 2 votes. What are you guys' thoughts on this? George, we'll start with you.
Well, I gotta be honest, and Miracle was my pick to move forward, but I am happy with this upset because Cool Runnings is easily one of my favorite films out there, man. I mean, it is absolutely hysterical, you know. That just means that the pushcart champion is moving forward, man. Sanka is not dead. He's going forward. I mean, come on. And you know what? It's cool because you got John Candy in it, and he's a classic comedic actor. Probably one of the greats up there, you know? And that's what I love about this film is that you have a ragtag bunch, and then you have this comedic, icon, and he just takes the whole movie. Miracle is great, but comedy, drama, we need the laugh, boys. We need the laugh.
Definitely. Craig, you agree with that assessment?
I'm shocked that Miracle gets upset, but I'm with George here that I'm happy that Cool Runnings wins. I mean, it's both fantastic movies in their own right, but it's a great win for Cool Runnings.
Definitely. Kev, your thoughts?
Fun fact on Cool Runnings. So my wife and I live up here in the middle of nowhere, and we got a little farm. Our pig we named Tallulah after the movie Cool Runnings. How much I love that movie.
That's awesome on so many levels. Oh man! Now with Cool Runnings,
we're gonna have to bring the pig on stage. Bring the pig on the show.
Man, might have to. That is awesome.
Anybody got a lucky egg from Easter? That could be the reason why Cool Runnings won, man.
Definitely could be. But with our next matchup, we have number 3 seeded Slapshot taking on number 14 Young Blood. And this one was nowhere near even close, with Slapshot taking the win and will now take on Cool Runnings in the second round. Your guys' thoughts?
Cool Runnings moving on by a landslide.
Ooh,
wow,
upset
city.
It's going to be tough, but I'm with you. I think Cool Runnings is going to continue their march.
Man, you agree with all that, George?
No, man. So turn over the rotten egg that you guys are hiding in your pants, boys. Just give it back, all right? But because there's no way that Cool Runnings is beating out the 3 Hanson boys. Don't make me send them over to your house and put on the foil. All right? The Slapshot is a classic movie that is offensive as hell right now. If it was done now, it would be like an X rating. You know, it wouldn't even be allowed to be, in theaters.
It has to come in a paper bag.
It's got to come in a paper bag. And it's just too much of a classic, man. Too much of a classic. Now, I would not be surprised if a classic comedy like, Happy Gilmore maybe later on kind of unseeds Slapshot. I would not be surprised because of based on our audience. But I'm still going with Slapshot, man.
Yeah, sadly, Slapshot, while a great movie, is not cool enough to be able to make it through because Cool Runnings is going to take this one and move on to the next round. So it's definitely going to be interesting.
I know you're thinking about it from those movies. You got to think about it like kind of how are the fans going to vote? And I know there's a lot of hockey fans out there, but I think they're gonna vote for the underdog and go with Cool Runnings.
Mm-hmm. I have to agree. In our next matchup, though, we have number 7, Blades of Glory, taking on number 10, I, Tonya. Now, going into this one, I didn't think I, Tanya was even going to get a single vote. But believe it or not, I, Tanya got more votes than I thought they were going to get in any way, shape, or form. Got me a little nervous, but not nervous enough, as Blades of Glory ended up blowing it out of the water and ended up moving on to take on the winner of our next matchup, which was also a blowout when Happy Gilmore took down the Legend of Bagger Vance in a huge, huge win to take on Blades of Glory in the next round. Your guys' thoughts?
Dude, I think we just got to put Will Ferrell and Adam Sandler in a ring, have Chris Carnage be the special guest referee, and see who could figure this one out.
I got a ref shirt.
I'm sure you do. This is going to be one hell of a matchup. I'm not surprised Blades of Glory and Happy Gilmore moving on. Classic comedies. And having those two now going up against each other, that is another second round matchup that we thought we wouldn't see so early on. Even though, I mean, based on the rankings, yeah, we were like, oh crap, this second round matchup is going to be pretty damn good.
Right.
I don't know, man. I think it comes down to the supporting cast. Think about who's in the supporting cast for Happy Gilmore. Bob Barker, Chubbs, John Hader, or, you know, the coach or the dancer who was also featured in Knocked Up and 40-Year-Old Virgin. He's pretty funny in Blades of Glory, too.
Yeah, he is. You ain't lying.
I don't know, man. I'm going to have to go Happy Gilmore, though. That's going to be my pick.
Oof. You agree with that, Craig?
This is probably going to be one of the toughest votes of the whole tournament, just because of both of these movies. You know, we talked about it in the selection show that when Blades of Glory came out, I don't think anybody was expecting it to reach the cult status that it got, to. Happy Gilmore, easily one of Adam Sandler's most recognizable roles, outside of like Waterboy maybe. And I think they move on in a very, very close matchup. I'm looking forward to seeing Happy Gilmore just keep moving on. I think they're going to get in the Elite Eight.
Oh, man. Kevin, what are your thoughts?
I'm going Happy Gilmore on this one. And the reason why is because the only sport it seems like people are allowed to play because it's socially distant and appropriate is golf. And it's fresh in everyone's mind. I actually was flipping through the channels the other day and found they were playing the 1972 Masters on ABC. So I sat down and watched that a little bit. It was good. And I think golf is fresh in everyone's minds right now, and they're seeing it on TV. So I think Happy Gilmore moves on.
Oof.
Well, today was supposed to be Masters Sunday.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And it kills me. Dude, boys, it kills me. I was going to be there this year for the first time as a golfer. I was going to be there this year. So golf is definitely on people's minds, and I have to say Happy Gilmore is going to move on. Something that I've noticed recently with this quarantine going on, a few people are playing some golf in my neighborhood. They're just, you know, chipping from front lawn to front lawn because what else are they going to do? Not to mention they're going to driving ranges and just trying to Happy Gilmore the hell out of the ball.
George, you just gave me a thought. So back in my field of dreams that I'm currently assembling, I put a putting green out in my center.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
I have golf and baseball.
I'll tell you what, I'll match you shot for shot. You send me a shot and I'll try to match it.
There you go.
Let's go.
Oh, man. Next thing you know, we're going to go out into the side of the house and make a basketball field next. So
don't start going down the road of the horse competition, because the NBA tried that tonight and they fucking flopped hard.
Ooh. Yeah, it was bad.
It was bad.
That was so unwatchable. I watched 5 to 10 minutes of it and I had to turn it off. I had to put it on mute.
Yeah, the 2K tournament I think was more entertaining than that. But coming back to our tournament,
this is more entertaining than that. That's for sure. Let's go.
Right? You ain't lying. But with Blades of Glory and Happy Gilmore, man, these are two really, really good movies. Timeless classics, in my opinion. And two, I keep actually on my shelf right now, looking at them from here. Absolutely love them. But we always got to remember, it's all in the hips.
The hips.
It's all in the hips. And Happy Gilmore is going to use it to their advantage and move on in a narrow window. It's going to be crazy. But with that, we now have filled in all parts of our bracket up to this point. Definitely make sure that if you want to check out more, that you go on to podcastcity.net and cast your vote. The poll will be up within the next hour, so definitely make sure to go check it out and give us all the votes you can, because it's going to be insane. There's so many good matchups. I can't wait, man. It's going to be great. What do you guys think?
Don't forget that we are still raising funds to help those that have been affected by COVID-19.
Yes.
We've raised $100 so far, and our first goal is $1,000. So we're kind of getting to that, getting some momentum there. I know I'm gonna be tossing in upwards of $100 myself. So we're gonna be, we're still trying to hit that goal. And if you can donate even a little bit, you'll be able to donate on Venmo at Campbell 2787. That's CAMPBELL 2787. And all the stuff that we collect over the next couple weeks, we're going to tally everything up, and at the end of the tournament, we are going to donate it to an organization, probably locally, that will help out people that have been affected by the coronavirus.
Definitely, and you can find more of that information also on podcastcity.net under the Sports Movie Madness page, where you can actually go and cast your votes and see the latest bracket. So definitely make sure to check up on there and read all that latest information. Excuse me, sorry, so much talking. My voice is just not keeping up with me right now, but still going to be great. I cannot wait to see the results of this next round. I think it's going to be absolutely amazing, and I think we're going to have a couple surprises in there.
Oh, definitely. I'm looking forward to it. The matchups have just gotten a little bit juicier, boys, and they're going to be even tighter this time around. And I'm really excited for it. Love what we're doing and being able to raise funds for all, and a shout out to all of our healthcare workers that are out there, all of our firefighters, all of our policemen throughout the state of Florida that are keeping us safe and going out there and doing their essential jobs, and risking their lives and their families' lives to make sure that everybody's safe. So shout out to them for sure.
Absolutely. And definitely make sure that when you go cast your vote, that you go give a little bit of love to Podcast City Network, our parent network right here above my head. You can go check them out on social media, whether it be Facebook or on Twitter. All you have to do is just go on there and look up Podcast City Network, or on Twitter at Podcast City Net. You can also check them out on their website, podcastcity.net. So check out all the great things that we have going on. And George, we thank you so much for joining us for another week. Where can they find more of George DeMoya and the Couch Dads podcast?
Well, boys, you can find me on Twitter at Couch Dads Pod. You can also follow me on Instagram, Couch Dads Podcast, or 90 Miles Media. And also be sure to check out where I'm working, flintstonemedia.com or the FloridaPodcastNetwork.com.
Awesome. And Kevin, we thank you so much for joining us. Your very first time on Final Score, and we can't wait to have you back next week for an all-new rugby report. But in the meantime, where can they find out more about Kevin Wathen and some more rugby?
I appreciate it, boys. It's been fun being on here, and you can find me on Facebook. I know that we're covering everything USARL starting off. Just give you a rundown. We're covering the Axemen next week, so all you Axemen fans, make sure you tune in next week to hear all about the club and what's going on with the upcoming season. And for all my movie madness poll, let's get on there and vote for Invictus. Let's see if we can run this thing all the way to the Final Four.
Kev Factor at the end of the show. You see that? Kev Factor just came in and buried everybody.
He did come in, just like how I like to support the wrestler. But anyways, thank you everyone for coming in and joining us for this great episode. Hey, don't make me get ready. Next time I'll do this episode with wrestling gear on. All right, but we thank everyone for listening. You just listened to episode 53 of Final Score. Make sure to check us out next week on Facebook Live at facebook.com/PCN Final Score /live. And you can check out all of our live broadcasts here on Facebook. But until next week, I'm Chris. That's Craig. That's George. That's Kevin. And you just watch Final Score. All y'all have a great night. Podcast City Network.